Welcome to Kendal Mountain Book Festival, presented as part of Kendal Mountain Festival. We're delighted to have Cotswold Outdoors as our festival partner this year. And thank you all for coming here to see Louise Minchin, but also some surprise guests as well, who are featured in part of the book. My name is Immy Sykes. I'm a cyclist, a runner, a reluctant swimmer, and possibly, if I keep talking to Louise, maybe a triathlete, I don't know.
Come on.
And also a writer. And yeah, I'm obviously joined by a panel of extraordinary women to discuss fearless adventures with extraordinary women. So this is a book compiling the experiences of extraordinary women in adventure, from cave diving to cycling to paddle boarding to rugby to everything that's, mountaineering, ice swimming. I just want to say that I'm coming off the back of chest infection, so I will do my best not to cough and splutter, but yeah,
Do you know what? I can always help.
So tonight I'm joined by, there we go, Christine Grossart, a cave diver and explorer who currently holds the British women's cave diving depth record. Cath Pendleton, the Merthyr Mermaid, ice swimmer and first person ever to swim an ice mile in the Arctic Circle. And
in her swimming costume.
In a swimming costume, even more impressive. And Caroline Bramwell, author of Lou Roll to Lycra and a triathlete who's competed at multiple distances after being diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and having a stoma fitted. So yeah, can you join me in welcoming? I've just realised I haven't started this, so we would be talking until much later. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a 45-minute chat. I'm then going to open it up to the audience. Please ask as many questions as you can. And then there will be a book signing, which will be just up the back there with Louise. So Louise, let's start by talking to you. Firstly, a million congratulations for getting this book out. I know it must have been a real achievement for you to have done that.
Thank you.
When, right at the beginning of this book, you kind of contextualize it as sort of saying it kind of came from being in the BBC and not really seeing women being represented in the way that you wanted them to. But as you kind of read through this book, there's so many bits where you're sort of saying that, certain women have influenced certain, the stories that you've written. You mentioned at the end about a dissertation that you'd written. So I feel like all of this coming together was so much bigger than just that one situation. So yeah.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a passion project. And I guess it started when I was very young, actually. And it's so exciting to be here, by the way, everybody. Thanks very much for coming tonight. I'm super excited. It started when I was little. I was what you would call in those days, a tomboy. I loved being outside. I loved being in the mud. I loved going camping with my dad. That was very much part of my life. I then did Duke of Edinburgh by lots of people, went on expedition. Literally, that completely and utterly inspired me. I loved being lost, I loved being cold, all these things which I know people in this room will also embrace. We are quite unusual, though. Anyway, so what I noticed, so I was on BBC Breakfast for, I can't really believe it, 20 years, and there's quite a few things that went on there that influenced me, but my passion is stories. It's stories, but particularly stories about people who are brave, who are intrepid, who are courageous, who are adventurous. Those are the stories I love to hear about. And I noticed, sitting there, that mostly when we talked about those stories, there was a particular sort of person who was starring in them, and they were mostly men. Okay? And I just thought, and that's great because I love hearing those things, but I just one day sat there at 5:16 in the morning with congealed porridge in one hand and a pile of scripts in the other, and I just suddenly came to it, I was like, what's going on here? Is it that there aren't women who are running the longest distances, climbing the highest mountains, diving the deepest, going in cave diving, swimming in the Antarctic? Is it that they're not doing that, or is it we don't hear their stories? And of course, the book is the answer to that question. We all know the answer to that question. There are brilliant women out there doing fantastic things, and for me, it's so important to celebrate their stories. And I'm doing in the book what I can do best, I think, is introduce you to them, tell you their amazing stories, and let's go out and celebrate them, because I think we all need heroes who look different. We all, look around at you. We all look different, don't we? So we don't need our heroes to be this sort of cardboard cutout, lovely SAS, big, tough guy. And there's probably loads in the audience here, so I'm a little bit scared saying that. But they look like this, yeah? And that's why I wanted to write the book, so we can just go out there and tell those stories.
And you did such a good job of kind of bringing together such like a diversity of women. You know, you have really young women, you have people from all different backgrounds. Yeah. And how did you actually kind of find these women? Was it an easy thing to do?
I don't know, maybe you should ask them. I think I just DM'd them on Insta, didn't I? I mean, Cath, I'd known, I had interviewed you before, hadn't I, on a podcast. Yeah. About swimming, but yeah, it was very interesting because I started the book and there are so many brilliant endurance runners, aren't there, female endurance runners, and I really thought it would be a lot of it would be about running, but actually in a good way, I had a knee injury before I started the book, so I just couldn't go and do the runs, because the key about the book, by the way, I didn't say is, I didn't just interview them on Zoom. Cath and I went free diving under ice in the dark together. Christine and I went wild caving, which she'll talk about more about later, is not for me. And Caroline and I did a half Ironman distance triathlon together. So I kind of invested a lot of time and energy. But yeah, to your point, the book became I wanted it to be a whole plethora of different sports, because I wanted people to pick up that book and find something that they can identify with. And it might be indoor climbing, which I'd never done. Loved that. I'm sure there's lots of climbers in here, by the way. It might be paddleboarding, but that's what I wanted, sort of diversity of not just person, but of sport as well, so that we can all pick up that book and go, and actually you don't even have to read it in any order. You can just go, oh, I fancy a bit of free diving today. Let's read that. But yeah, so I just wanted a whole plethora of different types of people, so that we can all look at it and go, yeah, that might be for me.
And actually talking about the different adventures that you did, I know that because you talk about it in there, you did do a lot of training for some of these things. How did you begin to prepare for kind of going on some of these, like, quite frankly, terrifying adventures?
I mean, the most training I had to do was for the free diving, which you'll talk about Cath later. So she's an ice swimmer. I mean, I'm a swimmer, but I've got Raynaud's. I'm out on the ice bit. But actually, we went free diving. Is anybody a free diver in here? Wow. There's two of us. So free diving, three things to know. Number one, it's an extremely dangerous sport. So number two, you only do it if you're a qualified free diver, which I wasn't when Cath suggested it. So we had to go on a course, and then you only dive with a buddy. So luckily, I love free diving, by the way, and I have somebody who I'm friends with who also loves it too. So yeah, I had to train for that, but I found it very, there are 17 different things, including a swim from Alcatraz, for example. If anybody knows much about me, you'll know that swimming is my thing, so that was great. But, doing a half Ironman distance when I was pre-knee injury, I had my knee injury, didn't I? And I'll just quickly do this bit of backstory, because Caroline, they're all inspiring, we'll come to them, but we did this half Ironman distance, which I had not trained for the run because I was injured. And I wasn't going to do the run. But then I started the race with Caroline, and she is doing the race with a stoma. So with a serious health issue would be a fair assessment, wouldn't it? And I'm doing it with a sore knee. So guess what, guys? You know what? When I got to that end of that bike, I was like, Louise, you need to get over yourself and do the run. Which I did.
You did. But the medal was very big.
Oh yes, so I saw the medal.
Motivating factor.
I like gear. Can you tell? I like a bit of merch, and I love. And then you're absolutely right. I love medals. The medal was this big, and halfway through this, one of the most appalling runs of my life, I met a friend of hers, by the way, who basically didn't carry me, but persuaded me around half of the half marathon. But the medal, that's what I did it for. You, your friend, and the medal. Anyway, I'm really clearly quite easily motivated. Anyway.
Actually, that kind of leads me into another question, which sort of picking up on the point that you made there. How did you manage to convince Louise to do this freediving trip? Or do you want to use the microphone?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
She probably doesn't need a mic.
Louise had contacted me to ask me if I was doing any more ice swims, and at the time I was like, no, I'm not anything in the pipeline. And 2 girls that I know from ice swimming in Ireland had set up a group that they were going ice freediving. So I was going to be 50 the year that they were going. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then when Louise contacted me, I said, no, I'm not going this, but I'm going to do this ice freediving. It's going to be really cool. Why don't you do it? But I didn't really explain it to you, did I? Let her find that out herself. I just said, it'll be fine, just do it.
And I believed her. But just the thing about the free diving, so we both did train for it. We were both very nervous, weren't we? And my first free dive out of a pool was...
Under the ice in the dark.
In the dark.
She'd never dived outside, but I have a nickname for Louise. She's Nails, I call her. I was petrified. Louise loved it. So we're actually going back to do it again with me less scared.
I might be more scared. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, what I love about people is all of these women. I phoned up and I said, right, what can we do? And they came up with each of them with a brilliant thing to do. It was fantastic. Thank you for sparing your time.
And actually, with the freediving, so I'm assuming then you've gone on to do more of it now and enjoy it?
I enjoy it. I was petrified in the dark. I wasn't in a good place, actually, when we went to Finland. I was in a bit of a menopausal mayhem, as I now call it. And I didn't want to leave Louise down because so I went, but it was really not a good time. I was off the planet and then I was in the dark. So I need to go back and
these conversations, shouldn't you, before you go? She should have maybe said, Louise, I feel like I'm letting you down. And I'd have gone, that's fine. It's fine.
But we did it and we had a really good laugh.
We had great fun.
But it was petrifying. We had lots of fun playing in the daytime when you could actually see what you were doing, but I'll let Louise explain it. She explained it. It was just, I'm saying about me, but it must have been absolutely petrifying for Louise because I'd already dived outside a few times at Vobster's Quarry and seen nice boats and stuff, but you'd never ever dived outside the pool.
No. I thought, so I'll just explain it a little bit to you. So what happens is it's on this amazing frozen lake, and you walk across this frozen lake, and what they've done is they've cut a triangle in the ice, and the ice is about 1 metre thick, isn't it, Cath? And there's a triangle there, and then there's a triangle about 15 metres over there. And what you have to do, you have to get in, and the first thing that happens is you realise that we were wearing wetsuits. You were wearing a wetsuit that day because we weren't allowed not to. And you're so buoyant that you get pressed up against the ice. So the first thing that happened to me when I went underneath, I was like, I can't even swim. I'm now holding my breath and I can't even swim. But when Cath went first, because she's obviously the much better qualified ice, she was going to be colder for longer, and she's better at that than me, so she went first. And when she took her breath, because I had to be on the top with my little torch, kind of hoping she'd come out, I genuinely thought she'd taken her last breath. I was like, how have I let this happen? How have I let this happen? And thankfully, I could just see underneath this tiny, she had a torch. Did you have a torch on top of your head?
I had a little adventure light on the back of my head.
Yeah, and I could just see this little light. I was like, she's alive. And when I did it, I think for me, so much about adventure and so much about these challenges, you learn a lot about yourself. But for me, it's just, I did it, and I honestly thought I was going to die. About here, I thought I was going to die. And about there, I was definitely going to die. But I came up, and it's that rush, isn't it, of adrenaline and, oh my gosh, I nearly died, but it's okay. I can breathe. And I just, for me, all these things that we've done, we've pushed ourselves in different ways, just are so much part of life, so life-affirming to me. And I know you're in a bad place, but we had a brilliant time.
Yeah, we had a brilliant laugh, and then I got my own back the next day. I made Louise do some ice swimming.
Yeah, she was like, did it in a tiny little swimming costume, and I'm in the swimming costume at that point, and with all these ice swimmers. And they're like, right, Louise, you've got to get in there with your swimming costume. But that's where you find your happy place.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to find my happy place with a free diving, now that we know what to expect. But Louise forgot to say, I came out swearing at the other end and was like, I'm never doing it in the bleep dark ever again in my life. And Louise was like, I loved it, and I'm going back. And she went back.
Oh my God. So did you do it twice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
More than twice.
That's insane. So just out of interest then, you say the next day you got Louise to do ice swimming. So that was just kind of that wasn't with a wetsuit.
That was skins,
just,
yeah.
My God, and what was
I want Cath to tell everybody her little ditty, which is a bit rude, by the way, of how to get in, because lots of you will be wild swimmers, I'm sure, and like the cold, unlike me, but you have a special way of persuading me to go in.
Yeah, so to calm Louise down, I said I would hold her hand throughout, and that she had to just remember bits, tits and pits. So I had her reciting it so that she didn't have the cold water shock. She was just shouting at the top of her voice, bits, tits, pits.
And I'd like to say it was easy, it wasn't. But Cath, tell everybody, because what I loved about your story is how much, and you talked about being menopausal, how much peace you find in water, and particularly cold water.
Yeah, the ice cold water is what I like. That's what I refer to as my reset button. So, along with menopausal mayhem kicking, we had the pandemic, and in Wales we couldn't swim. So I'm in a much better place now, and just really looking forward. But that's what I just discovered. I liked it. I started it in 2015. Off the back of doing triathlon, I'd hurt my back and thought I won't be able to run or cycle this winter. And I've just never stopped since.
My goodness. So hang on, you all have done, because you're in triathlon now, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just started, yeah.
So I've got
somebody's fault, wasn't it?
I've actually infected her with triathlon, which I think she is hard as nails, but I have actually converted her. It's one of my proudest things from the book.
Yeah, what actually happened was I didn't know who Louise Minchin was, so I Googled her.
I don't know why I'm laughing.
I Googled her and I found this book called Dare to Try. I thought, I'll read that. And here we are, 5 triathlons later. I'm looking at an Olympic distance next year. So yeah, it's good. Best sport in the world, isn't it? Why be crap at one sport and you be crap at 3?
It's
a very good point.
Fair point. I think I'll probably end up coming back to you about some of the ice swimming because I've got lots of thoughts. But no, keep it because I've got a question. Right at the beginning of the book, you have the chapter from Anaya and Mitali,
yes.
And they have this really poignant quote that says, and I can't remember, I haven't written it down verbatim, but it's a really common misconception that we're not afraid. We are, but we're sort of still doing it.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to ask, particularly you, Christine, about managing and coping with fear, because obviously what you do, cave diving, is a lot of the time, I imagine, is quite a solo thing, particularly on some of the more, because you did an expedition into Croatia, didn't you? So yeah, how have you kind of cultivated that and started to manage that fear?
Yeah, we talk about that quite a lot. I mean, fear is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be. So it depends how you manage it. If you embarked on something like cave diving and you had no fear at all, I'd be really concerned about you, because that means you have no respect for what you're doing. So a little bit of fear, or at least consternation, I would call it, a little bit of awareness of what you're really doing, and an understanding of the consequences, and then you do everything you can to mitigate that whilst trying to achieve it at the same time. But equally, being scared out of your wits isn't going to end well either. Freezing, shaking with fear, that kind of thing where you actually think, you've lost control of your senses, basically. That's not a place you want to be. So I think, like with everything, you need to start slowly, train properly, and there's nothing like having done something before to make it feel better the next time. And you can make quite a big leap between doing something for the first time and then coming back and doing it a second time. You look at it differently, it feels different. So you build up your cave diving experience like that. I would not go on a cave diving expedition like Croatia, having not built up to that over the previous 20 years, So it's not something you can just have a go at. It's something that you do need to build up. And if something frightens you and you think, Christ, I got away with that and I don't fancy doing that again, you make sure it doesn't happen again. I would say fear is not the enemy, but terror absolutely is. And if you're in a position of terror, you've gone wrong somewhere and you need to get out. That's what I would say about that.
Yeah. And actually, for the people who haven't read, could you talk a little bit about that expedition in Croatia, if possible?
Yeah. So I got into cave diving through family, basically. My mother and my uncle were both sort of involved in the caving community. He was a caver. So it's kind of a niche activity. It's not something many people do. you do it once with the scouts or the school and then never go again, whereas I was kind of brought up with it as a thing, so I always knew about it. And through a roundabout sort of way got into caving and diving, but for me it seemed like it is a perfectly legitimate way of discovering new parts of this planet that have never been seen before. I mean, you can't see them from satellite, you can't send a robot, you have to actually go there, under the ground, to actually turn that next corner and see what's there. You can do it by dry caving, by dropping rope pitches, places like Slovenia, Montenegro, places like that. They've got big expeditions going out there with lots of dry cavers exploring new stuff. But it's hard work, sort of days underground, camping and all the rest of it. So I went for the easy option, which is cave diving, where you just float around and scoot around. I mean, it's not actually the easy option.
What she does is she goes into these tiny spaces with her scuba gear, gets into tiny tunnels which are full of water, and then, not knowing where she's going to go, try and get out the other side. I mean, it's utterly unthinkable.
So Croatia was a real pinnacle, because I'd sort of built up to the exploration side through smaller, what we call sumps, so submerged passages. But Croatia grew arms and legs. I started pushing the cave out there that I knew was ongoing. I knew the previous explorer had been there. He lost access to the cave, so he said, look, it's wide open, it's all yours. We had access. So the problem is this water, it got 50 metres deep, so it's a 50-metre dive. For 600 metres distance, it's 7 degrees water, so it's dry suits and all the rest of it. And then it's surfaced again. So you've got to go caving with your rebreather, with a scooter, and all all your bottles and all the rest of it. And then it goes underwater again. So you're up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. When you look at the actual dive profile, you sort of think, how did you guys not get bent? How did you didn't get hurt? But we manage it. So it was mixed gas, rebreathers, scooters, big stuff, the big boy stuff, basically, at the top of the thing. And we've been doing that since 2015.
So scooter's like a James Bond thing that pulls you underneath. I mean, so straightforward.
I mean, that was actually a safety thing. You can swim the sump, but the problem is the longer you spend in the water, the more decompression you're accumulating. And I don't want to accumulate decompression in 7 degrees of water on the wrong side of a sump. So what we were doing was we were hitting it. So basically just hitting it and scootering through as fast as possible. So we didn't get any decompression. So it was quite, I would say it's committing. Very committing expedition. We've discovered over 2 kilometres of new cave there, and mapped it and everything, photographed it, videoed it, all the rest of it. And everyone says, are you going back next? And we have discovered an enormous chamber after I took you caving. We discovered a chamber that was well over 30 or 40 metres high. It was absolutely jaw-dropping. But it was a 15-hour round trip, door to door, once the gear was already in there. And it was like, are we going to do that again? None of us want to go back. Please, we're trying to get the government to stop us going in there. Yeah, so that's the kind of the top end of caving and cave diving exploration. And I won't lie to you, it's hard. And trying to find team members who are willing and capable to do that, you can count them on one hand. And it's really hard.
And is it mainly men as well? Or is it kind of more of an even split?
No, it's mainly men, unfortunately. There's probably 2 or 3 other women in the world that are doing things at that level.
Wow,
yeah.
That's incredible.
And only one in cold water in Europe. Yeah.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I love about this is there are still places in our planet that we don't know, and Christine is one of the people, very few people in the world who are doing that. And in my head, I'd love to be in your team, but that it's never happening.
Yeah, Louise, do you want to talk about your experience of doing that with
Christine very kindly said that we could go wild caving, and I sort of thought, I'm not very good in a lift with another person apart from me. Claustrophobia is a very real thing in my life. And I imagined that we would be going, to be fair, she talked about safety. We had a full 2-hour briefing before I'd even met you, didn't we? Yeah. But I sort of still, even though you told me what it's going to be like, imagine we'd be walking into a lovely place like this. It would be sort of lit, and there'd be a little bit of a waterfall and maybe a boulder at the end, and we might squeeze into some little thing for 1 minute. Again, another hole in the ground. And I think you said to me something. I was dressed in this wonderful Teletubby gear, which was entirely waterproof with a helmet and a light, obviously. I should have realised at that point this was going to be slightly, what did you call it, committing? Committing. Yeah, so if I just had the first thing she said, and I'm exaggerating because it terrified me. Oh yeah, just get in that, Louise. You're going to drop about 7 foot. It'll be absolutely fine. Don't worry. Climb down a wall, and it's quite narrow. I hated it from the first moment. It was 4 hours, about 4 hours, wasn't it? And I got in, I was 2 hours in, and I had to have a quiet word with myself, which was, Louise, I'm quite good at talking to myself. The more you panic, the worse it's going to be. You need to calm down, and you will get out of here. But it gives me sweaty palms even talking about it. Caving is not for me, but I absolutely have so much admiration for you, and I'm so glad it's part of the book.
When you're talking about fear, another way of managing it is just get them down the hole before they notice.
Yes!
So, we're at the entrance now, Louise. Stop mucking about. Down you go.
Yes, exactly. And the worst thing, about 10 minutes about getting... So it was so narrow, and she's like, right, this is the Superman. There was a Superman move, wasn't there? There was also the toilet flush or something. Was it the lavatory pan? You had to sit like you're on the loo, and the Superman... No, don't worry, just put your arm up and one arm down, then wriggle your bottom, and it's going to be fine. But you can't move. It has to be your left arm, because otherwise... Honestly, the whole thing. And the worst thing, I'd never told you this on the day, was... Oh, God. We'd been in there about 10 minutes, and honestly, it's like this. You know, there's 3 of us, and we're sort of like snuggled against the rock like this. And then I hear voices, and I was like, what's that, Christine? Oh, it's some people coming up. Coming up? How are they going to get past me? Never. But I love this. What I love about this symbiosis is that I am never going to go caving again, but she's become a triathlete, so it's win-win, isn't it?
I just want to know, just out of interest, anybody here been caving in the Mendips? Put your hand up. Quite a few, I thought you would be. Keep your hand up if you've been down Swildon's Hole. There you go, see, I'll take her somewhere nice. That's where you go. That's where she went.
Is it nice? Oh, you can... Yes, exactly. The sump, I didn't do any sumps. I didn't do any sumps, did I? No. Anyway, thank you for the lovely experience.
Anytime.
I'm going to move slightly on, actually, to kind of talk about one of the big themes that come out in the book, which actually seems to be in every single chapter, which is this idea of body image. I feel like you can't... I mean, I've done so many of these talks at Kendall Mountain with various different women athletes, and this always comes up, and actually comes up in your chapter in particular. But one of my questions actually was, for you, Caroline, how has your... kind of body image changed and your kind of relationship with it changed? Because obviously you went from kind of, I think you call yourself a couch potato. I don't think I'm giving you that title.
I am a self-confessed couch potato. I was always a self-confessed couch potato. I'm the girl who hated the cross-country running at school. I went to an all-girls school, so it was hockey. So I would be the one wearing all the armour in the goal because I didn't want to run around on the pitch. So I really was not sporty at all. So it was only as a result of having surgery. When I had ulcerative colitis, the only way to manage it is with steroids. I will just say I was actually pregnant with my daughter when I was first diagnosed, so we couldn't treat it straight away. But after she was born by cesarean, I lost 2 stone in 2 weeks.
Wow.
I literally became emaciated because of the disease, and that's when they had to put me onto steroids. But of course, the side effects of that are much. Steroids is the whole weight gain, moon face. And I was yo-yoing on the meds for 4 years to the point that I couldn't actually look in the mirror without crying. I was just not me. It was just not me. So that's when I decided to have surgery. Well, actually, the reason I decided to have surgery was because my husband thought after a cinema trip when I'm hiding in the bushes for an hour with colitis, his idea was we should install a portaloo in the car, and I went, it's not quite where I was going with it. So I opted for surgery, and so I elected to have ileostomy, so I had my large intestine removed. But again, as you say, body image, the stoma nurses would give me a bag and say, go home, just put it on yourself and look in the mirror. That is quite hard for people to get used to. Yeah. But it's the way in which you approach it. I'd got to that point of being so ill that actually this is quality of life. I had a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old then. So for me, it was quality of life was better with a bag than not. And yeah, I've had a stoma now for 14 years. I've got a peristomal hernia, so I do have a bulge on my stomach from it. But my theory is that we've all got bulges. Nobody knows what it is unless you tell them what it is. And so my ethos is like, nobody's going to know unless I tell them. Yeah. But obviously I tell a lot of people.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, to me, it's about the more we talk about these things, we break down those taboos.
Yeah.
And people don't want to talk about it, and they live in misery and with bad habits and struggling. But if you talk about it, it's nothing to be ashamed of at all. So, yeah.
And then from being not able to, I remember we talked about it, not be able to play with your children, you had the operation, and then you decided to take up triathlon and then go on to do Ironman, which is...
Well, yeah, I took up cycling first because this overweight, this me that I couldn't look at was so bad. I thought, I need to work at this. But the couch potato was saying, you're not going to go running, really, are you? And it's like, I'm not going to go running. So I actually booked myself onto a 24-hour cycle event.
Okay, that's, yeah.
So I'd had the surgery in the March. I went and spoke to my GP who said, don't know if you should be doing this. But she didn't say no, so I thought that was a yes. I hired a PT to take me out on a bike, and I cycled London to Paris in 24 hours a year after surgery. Wow. So I actually took up cycling first, and then went and learnt to swim because I wanted to spend time in the autumn with my children because they swim like dolphins. Wow. So actually, I took up the cycling, then I learnt to swim. My theory was anyone can run, but obviously you don't. I learnt the hard way. I still do not like the running as much as the other two sports.
We're really together on that, us two, about the running, aren't we?
It's the bit you have to do at the end.
Yeah. You have to do that for the medal, that's all I think.
That's the bling bit at the end, yeah, definitely. So for me, now, nobody needs to know unless I tell them that I've got stoma. But if they do want to know about it, I'm more than happy to tell people about it and explain, because it'll help encourage others to feel more body confident. So I think that's the big thing, it's about body confidence for any women, regardless of conditions.
Yeah. And Louise, throughout when you were talking to different women, did this come up repeatedly without prompting, or kind of what?
I think it did come up without prompting, and so when I was until I was 15, I was a really good swimmer. I was a really competitive swimmer, and I loved it. I loved the training, I loved the racing, I was winning races. And then what happened to me, going back to the tomboy thing actually, when I was little, I had really short blonde hair, and I loved being outside and, wearing, probably what I'm wearing now. And people used to call me laddie when I was little, and I didn't really like that very much, to be honest. At age 15, I looked in the mirror, and that's just when you start getting really conscious, isn't it, about, turning into a woman and curves, etc. And I could see that I had really muscly shoulders, and I just looked at them and thought, I know I don't like them. I think they make me look too masculine, and I know what it is. It's swimming, and I gave it up. And I'm just so, devastated for that, Louise, because here I am. I've got swimmer's shoulders now, which I'm really proud of, and make me fast in the water. But I had a sort of 30-year break where I gave up competitive sport and only came back by accident because of BBC Breakfast. But I do think there is, the message that we can pass on is that, we're looking at really 3 amazing athletes here on all different things. And, we can pass on that message. It doesn't matter what you look like, it's what your body can do, which is important, yeah? And we're all doing different things with our amazing bodies. And I think sometimes when Caroline is now my superpower, by the way. Because if I'm having a hard time, I just say, get over yourself, Louise. Because I just think, I'm very lucky to have a body that mostly works. I can choose if I want to go and do the London Marathon this year, that I am capable of doing that. And I just think that's an incredible blessing. And, it's not important what my body looks like, it's what I can do with it. And I think that's probably, is that a point that we're getting to? You 3, do you feel that? Oh, God, I'm really putting pressure on now, sorry.
Yeah, for me, definitely, it's the boundaries we can push.
Yeah.
I think all of us are pushing boundaries, but sometimes we don't realise we're pushing them.
Well, Cath, it's, what you do, Cath, you've got a Guinness World Record for just pushing your body to places that probably 99.9% of us in this room just could not do. We wouldn't survive.
Yeah, I know, but I still struggle with body image, as you know. But I just love it. I don't know how you can explain it. It's just like I think you find your thing, and when when you find your thing, that's it. But, you know, I still really have to work hard to keep acclimatized. You know what I mean? I'm every winter, it's like start again from zero, but obviously my body remembers. But I do think I swam in the river a lot as a young child, so I think my body was maybe accustomed to it. But yeah, you're right. It's you know, I say people can do anything, but there are some things that people can't do.
Yeah.
You know, or don't want to do. More like it. So yeah, I think it's great that all our bodies are made up differently and people can do different things. You know, I'm never gonna be a fast swimmer, but I can swim for a long time.
In very cold water.
Yeah, in very cold water.
Yeah, just going back very slightly, because Caroline, I really want to understand why the 24-hour bike ride. What was it that kind of piqued that in you? What made you really want to do that?
In order to get fit and lose this overweightness that I had, I needed to train. I knew I needed regular exercise. And as I say, couch potato Caroline wasn't going to do it. So I decided I'm going to book something, and it was a charity ride. And for me, it was having the goal that made me go. And I've actually learned so much about myself that I am so goal-driven. And if I don't have an event in my calendar, I slack off on training, which is what's been happening in the last year. But I've got a few things I need to put in the calendar for next year. Because if I don't have something to aim for, it's like there's other things can get in the way. Yeah. So for me, I found it was having that goal. And London to Paris, the reason I wanted to do it was to prove to myself I'm back. You know, so my own body was mine. Colitis took away the power. It was in control of my body, not me. So to have my stoma surgery and take on London to Paris with a bag for life stuck to me meant I'm in charge here.
I've never heard it called a bag for life. It's a really good one.
Mine's permanent, so. And the other thing, mine was what they call a panproctocolectomy, so I've had everything removed, so I actually get zipped up, and the only bit of me that I can call a Barbie, but it doesn't look like it, but it is. So I'm a Barbie. And people always say, but can you cycle? And I went, yeah, it's the third arm bit. And actually, I don't have to stop on the bike as much as other people, so actually it's got its advantages as well. But again, I just got confident of making a bag change or whatever when I'm on the bike ride. So London to Paris was a big personal challenge and something I was proud of, but it made me realise that actually it showed other people what they can do.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good point from all of you actually, and everybody in the book, showing other people what you can be capable if you set your mind to it. You can do things that you don't think you can, and that's hugely empowering. And you learn about determination, about resilience, and how to take on fear, things that you're scared of. One of the most important things I learned from all of you was, and it's something I do anyway, obviously, none of you take this lightly. You all train for what you do. You all take it very seriously. Health and safety is probably top of your list, isn't it? And you're not doing it for kudos, and you're not doing it for headlines. You're doing it because you just bloody love it. And that's why it was important for me to be able to tell your stories, because, I'm sure there'll be people here today who just think, actually, that's given me a little bit more confidence or a little bit of inspiration or something, I might go and do something different because of what you've heard from them.
Really.
When we're on the 10K, is anybody doing the 10K tomorrow? No? Can you tell me, just think of Caroline when I'm thinking it's bad, yeah? She's not even doing it.
I'm going to be in the lake. I'm swimming in the
I'd
morning.
rather be in the lake.
I'm in the lake with Cath.
I don't know why I've said I'm doing the 10K. But I'm doing it.
And then with all of the adventures that you did with these women, what would you say for you personally was the one thing that really pushed you out of your depth and really you kind of felt that feeling of?
Well, it was both of these. I think I didn't realise when I was writing it that I was immersed literally in these adventures, and I didn't realise that actually some people are having anxiety dreams because of those two chapters. So if you're in any way claustrophobic, maybe it'll help you with the claustrophobia, I don't know. But yeah, they definitely, I think particularly, both the free diving was mind-blowingly terrifying but brilliant. And the caving was mind-blowingly terrifying and awful. You weren't, but it's not my thing. But you know, I feel really lucky. I had an amazing year doing it, and I just think I learned a lot from all of them. And I think there's so many messages in this book to pass on to other people. It's a great Christmas present, by the way. But you know, just to sort of take a little bit step back, and I'm talking to the converts here. You know, you're here at this mountain festival. You all understand the power of the great outdoors and the power of feeling small in this beautiful environment we live in and challenging yourself for that environment. But yeah, there's so many brilliant messages in there about determination, about resilience, about courage, and about how to take on scary things.
And I guess.
And finally, one point. I keep forgetting this. The whole point, I think, what I get from doing those things, from challenging myself and being alongside these people that do it, is you take the things you learn back into other parts of your life. So when you're having a hard time, whether it might be at work or it might be with a relationship or something, you know, all those things you learn through adventure make you a much stronger person and much more resilient and much more able to cope things. And finally, final message, you know, I don't think I would have taken on a 6-year battle for equal pay with the BBC had I not been an endurance athlete. Because I was just like, you just don't know what you're dealing with here. So, you know, they should have realised.
And just out of interest, did you kind of come together through Louise?
Yes.
Yeah, incredible. And so just what has that relationship done now since the book has come out for you?
Well, Caroline's trying to rope us into doing something all together.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a WhatsApp group now.
We've got 18 amazing, quite crazy women in this brilliant WhatsApp group. I mean, now, you know, so these 3 arrived yesterday. They're in an Airbnb. They'd never met before I introduced them. And they're spending the weekend together doing wild stuff. I just think it's utterly brilliant. And they even wear the same T-shirt as me.
But one thing that we've all found, I mean, we've all been inspired by each other, and the fact that you've done all of them, was that actually, as a collection of people, we could do something big.
Gosh.
We don't know what.
We don't know, but we're open to ideas.
But, you know, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a team thing. At the moment, we've been doing things individually.
Yeah.
But is there something we, as a collective team of women, should be looking at taking on and proving that you need to be fearless to take it on?
That's a challenge, isn't it? Gosh, she's throwing it out there.
I put it in the WhatsApp group. Nobody's answered yet.
Exactly. We're all like, what are we going to do?
You just love it.
Yeah, great idea, Cath. Yeah,
It's like, go, off you go, Caroline.
we're right behind you.
Yeah, but the friendships. And I think, you know, we've all inspired each other. Some of them have got charities. You know, by being part of this group, I've been inspired to set up a new charity. You know, we've all got life experiences that we're learning from each other.
That's amazing.
It's really been amazing, and it's just honestly last night was making me laugh so much. As we've got a Kendall WhatsApp group. We have separate WhatsApp groups in the WhatsApp group, obviously. We've currently got the Kendall WhatsApp group, and you know, listening about the spaghetti bolognese and who had the gin and who had the and literally Cath brought ice down from Scotland yesterday, and I certainly imagine going, you are literally the ice queen. While I'm sitting on a train, not joining them. But anyway, so it's just been an absolute joy to be part of it.
That's amazing. One of my final questions then is asking about what fearlessness means to each of you now. And I hate it in panels when you go around and ask, but I'm going to do it anyway because I want to hear from all of you. So, Cath, do you want to start, actually? Sorry to be annoying with the...
Oh, no problem. Yeah, fearless. For me, it's been an excellent experience because at heart, I'm a bit of a sissy.
Which sounds insane.
So it is like you're saying, of taking on everybody else's stories, especially, you know, when things do get tough. And I actually joke with Louise that I call her nails. You know, if she says anything, I said, oh, don't worry, your nails, you can do anything. And, you know, and I like caving at school, so I could see Louise's eyes lighting up when she was saying about a caving team. And I was just like, I think you probably would like to go back and try it. Looks like I'm going back to try it under the ice. Just throwing you under a bus, but I'm just in Wales, and maybe not so much squeezy holes, but I just think, you know, it's been really good for me because I've come from quite a dark place over the last 2 years, and it's great, and I've met so many good friends, and Caroline, I did like it, and I said, great idea, but my brain won't stretch to coming up with any ideas of what to do.
We all need a leader. She's our leader, it's fine. She's going to sort it out.
So I think Fearless is just having a go. Do you know what I mean? I think if there's something that you really want to do, I've found out yesterday, sorry, can I chuck this in there, that I've got the news that my Arctic swim's going to happen.
Oh, amazing.
Yay! But I'm petrified because I know what to expect. But I think Fearless is very different for everybody. For me, I've certainly learned from the book and from meeting everybody that I like Louise's term, have a word. And when I've done stuff over the years, I've always sort of said that, have a word with yourself, Cath, have a word with yourself. And I just think it really helps. And what Louise says, that when you are on an adventure and you do crazy things or things that you enjoy, it does make you more resilient in other areas of your life, because you can kind of just like reflect, well, if I could do that, I can get through this little curveball. But so I think it's individual for everyone.
Yeah, I was thinking that the book for me kind of hasn't really changed my caving or my cave diving career, but what it has done is given me permission to do things that I probably would have been a bit, I'm not going to be as good a triathlete as I am a cave diver because I've not worked at it for 20 years, but it's given me permission to have a go at it, not feel ashamed. Like you were saying earlier, I used to work in horse racing, and the joke last time, wasn't it, 6 stone ago before you even start. But anyway, I rode in steeplechasers as a youngster, and obviously now I'm not that size anymore, so I kind of always feel like I've let myself down. But through Louise's book and only learning to ride a bike 2 years ago, I mean, how ridiculous. I could ride a racehorse but not a push bike. I mean, it's what you know. It's what you know, isn't it? Either you can or you can't, and So I just thought, well, now I can ride a bike and I can swim a bit and anybody can run. Oh, how we laugh, right? Let's have a go at a triathlon. But what the book has done is given us permission, and it's kind of given a nod, certainly in my direction, to say, it's all right, Christine, you can do it, and you don't need to care what anybody thinks. Oh. And I think also, stop thinking about what other people think and get on with it. That's the message I'm getting from Fearless, and it's, I've just let rip, basically, in the last year. It's been fantastic. And we've got people like Kadina, who was on in the I was going to say the jungle in the castle.
On I'm a Celebrity, yeah.
With you. My cycling coach, because I got a cycling coach because I needed all the help I could get. And he said, we need to get you in the velodrome. You're clearly a sprinter. I said, I am not going in there. You've got no brakes.
Yes, you're right.
No, but I can't ride a bike anyway. I've got no brakes, and it's a fixed gear. No way, Jose. And then I looked at Kadina, who's got...
There you go.
Is it MS?
She's got lots of things.
She's got lots of things going on.
Yeah, she's a Paralympian.
And she's a Paralympian on the track. And I just sort of think, what is my excuse?
What is
my excuse? So next time you see me, I should be going round and round the velodrome, leaving skin all over the place.
She's a fearless sister, so she'll clearly look after you.
Yeah. So it's definitely it's done wonders for us personally. But now I think we're all sort of thinking, what can we do for others? I think that's where we are right now. What can we do? Because we've got a pretty powerful thing here.
Yeah, I agree. That it's the power of what we've done and come together. And the book is the catalyst. I think it's just the start, to be honest. But for me, the Fearless, it is that I'm going to do something that's scary. For me, it was the fact I couldn't swim. I was terrified of swimming. And it is like, I'm going to give it a go anyway, regardless. And I think that's the thing through here, the fact that you've leapt in and done everything. That's the Fearless. It's like, I don't know whether I'm going to like this, but I'm going to give it a go. So for me, that's what Fearless is about. It's about just giving things a go.
Oh my gosh, you've been... I've got a microphone. You'd think I'd know, wouldn't you? Only 25 years been broadcasting. So I was listening so intensely. First of all, I thank you for your gratitude and your generosity, all of you. I think, to Chrissy's point, just backing up a bit, fear is a good thing because it stops you doing really stupid stuff. But maybe what it lets you do is it lets you plan for those things. For me, it's the reason to do it is it's all about building, isn't it? So, for example, one of the scariest things I ever did was Patagon Man, which is an extreme triathlon. It's a sister of Norseman, which I've also done, and I'm sure some of you will know about. It's a long way, right? It starts, you jump from a ferry in the dark in a Patagonian field where orcas swim. There's quite a few things going on there. Mostly it was the orcas, because obviously I love sharks and I love orcas, but clearly they were going to eat me. They'd never eaten anybody, by the way, in that particular fjord. So I was on this ferry, and I was with one of the women in the book called Lucy Gossage, who's a world Ironman winner. She's won 14. Also happens to be a cancer doctor as well, just alongside. But it was honestly the most terrifying thing. I was last off the boat. Literally everybody else has gone off the boat. And I'm like, it's pitch dark. I've got 3.8 kilometres to swim. I can't even see where I'm swimming. And I'm going to die because an orca's going to eat me. And I just jumped off. I did jump off the ferry, mostly because somebody next to me did a somersault. I was like, have a quiet word with yourself, Louise. He just did a somersault. And I just got in that water, and I can't explain it. I literally went under the water. I came up, I took a breath, and I was like, this is going to be an incredible day. It's all okay. And I just think it's like a superpower. Once you get over that thing that you've been terrified about, when you come to other terrifying decisions, like leaving BBC Breakfast was a massive decision for me. I loved that job. I loved being part of that enormous BBC Breakfast family. Why would I leave it? The reason I left it because it was the hours, right? Getting up at 3:40 in the morning for 20 years is not good for you. But it just empowers you. I think it's like a superpower. If you can embrace your fear, become in some ways fearless, then when other big things come along, you can go, I don't know how I'm going to land. I'm presuming the orcas aren't going to eat me, and it'll be okay. And it's 2 years since I've left, and I still haven't been eaten by an orca. But anyway, so it's a long story, but I think, it's something that you all have in this room. You wouldn't be here if you weren't interested in it, but I just think it's if you can embrace your fear, get past things, it sort of gives you superpowers. And I kind of like, it's my little backpack of superpowers that occasionally I think I don't interview politicians anymore, but I used to think, it's fine, I've jumped off a ferry.
Which is brilliant. We have time for some of the questions from the audience. So, yeah, I think somebody's going to come around with a...
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening so intently. Thank you. Oh, by the way, this is Jo. This is Jo. She is a fearless sister as well. She is also in the book. She doesn't have an entire chapter dedicated to herself. She's climbed 6 of the biggest mountains in the world.
6 of the 7 summits.
Sorry, only 6 of the 7 summits, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, she is a superhero as well. But there she is.
Where am I going first?
Oh, all the way to the back.
I'll just quickly, she's in the chapter I did with Lucy Gossage, who's this world Ironman champion. And Lucy, so the races I've done with Lucy was Norseman and Patagon Man. We started them together. She finished first, and I finished nearly last. So in our chapter, I was like, right, we're going to do a triathlon, but it's a team one. So she had to stay with me all day long. And it was so hard. It was amazing, wasn't it? It was a bike, hike, paddle, and it was one of the hardest days I ever had. But that's how I tricked Lucy into staying with me.
Hello, it works. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for writing the book.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. You're all amazing women. So much of the time, no disrespect to men, I love men, but, they get a lot of praise, and if as a woman you do something adventurous, it's just, oh, you're crazy. And I think you're proving that actually you're really capable above and beyond almost. So I want to say thank you so much for writing the book and empowering young ladies as well coming through. I have a daughter who's 18, and I hope that this will help people. My question is actually for the mermaid. So I really like cold water swimming as well, and I'm hoping to go to Austria in a couple of months and attempt an ice mile. Is
Awesome.
there any advice or anything that you'd like to share, or I should know? Other than the obvious of train.
Yeah, train hard, keep acclimatised. No, I think I'm meant to be doing an ice mile, funny enough, at the beginning of December, and I'm really nervous about it because I haven't been training as much as I should. So within a group chat, I think it's really important is to know that you're doing your training, but just don't put the pressure on yourself, you know, because hopefully you'll go and you'll love it. Is it with the organised one there? The ice mile that you're doing, is it an organised one? I can't remember. The Austria Ice Swim.
I can't remember the name of the lake. It's Josef Kerbel is organising.
Oh,
it,
okay.
and
No,
it's
different.
at a particular event. There is an organised that we're going to. I'm trying to remember the
Okay,
name
it'll
of
be
the
brilliant,
lake.
and they will look after you. So just concentrate on
Yeah,
your swim and
organised.
know that the safety team's there looking after you. But yeah, that's brilliant. So how many? It's just keep training,
Come and
and
talk
just
to
don't put
Cath.
the pressure on yourself.
Come and talk to her afterwards as well. 'Cause
Yeah,
you'll
I'll be up there. Yeah.
And enjoy it. Yeah?
Smile.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, sorry.
It's like you climb mountains, isn't it? Quick, quick, quick. Oh my gosh, look at her go.
I just wanted to see her run.
Well done.
No, my question is, you said fear is good, but terror is bad. Did any of you get to a point when you were doing what you were doing and get terrified? And if so, how did you overcome it and carry on?
I did actually. Shall I talk about that? Oh, where are you? Put your hand up. So I did one, and I think fear is a really good thing. Does anybody know Mimi Anderson, the endurance runner? Yes. Yeah, amazing Mimi. She's called Marvellous Mimi, and she really is. She is one of the world's most accomplished endurance runners, but luckily for me, she can't really run anymore. So I really wanted to have her in my book, and I phoned her up, Mimi, I'd love you to be in the book. What are you doing in the next year? Oh, I'm cycling across Argentina. Do you want to come? I mean, why wouldn't I want to come? So we cycled across, we were meant to cycle from Chile to Argentina, but because of COVID, we couldn't. Long story short. We were sort of day 2 on the bike ride. We're cycling about 170k a day, I think, a long way. And it was very, very hot, and we were on a dual carriageway. And in the UK, you would never cycle on a dual carriageway, but it was the only road between Chile and Argentina. And we'd had our safety truck behind us for most of the ride, and there were these articulated lorries coming along, and honestly, they go rumbling behind me, boom, 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 boom. And our safety truck had to stop to look after someone else. And I just got terror. Not fear, actual terror, because I've know every single bad news story that's happened in the last 20 years, particularly to cyclists, because I'm a cyclist. And I'm so terrified that I'm going to die or be very seriously injured. I feel incredibly unsafe, and this is a really stupid thing to be doing. So I went, Mimi, and she goes, what's the problem? I was like, I'm scared. And she stopped straight away. She's like, we got off our bikes, we took our bikes off the dual carriageway, and we stopped. And I just think that is such a lesson, because it's about teamwork, isn't it? She took me very seriously. I was in a very scared place. And, I was probably okay, but we don't know that I was okay. But I think sometimes, actually, you need to listen to yourself. And actually, it gives me goosebumps even thinking about it. But I just thought about my family. I was like, I cannot be doing this for my family. If something happens to me now, it would just be so stupid. So, yeah, I think sometimes you just, put your hand up. Have you all done that? I mean, maybe you haven't, but I just think, anyway, that's my, you don't have to say anything, but that would be my point.
The first rule is stop. You've
Yeah,
got that feeling
stop.
for a reason.
Yeah.
You've got that feeling for a reason, but I can remember, probably the one that I was trying to think when was my most terrified underwater. I was cave diving in Florida, and the problem with Florida, it's lovely and warm and clear, and lures you into this sense of security that it's a wonderful place to dive. The problem is, it's like diving into a fire hydrant. It's extremely powerful flow in Florida, not what we're used to in the UK at all. So on the way in, it's blimmin' hard work, and you're building up CO2 on a rebreather and so on, working very, very hard. And you sort of get to the point where you think, my breathing rate's going up, I don't like this, don't feel good, let's turn around. At which point you just get spat, and I mean spat out of this cave. I got on the wrong side of the exit, and there was nothing to hold on to. And I just thought, this cave is going to fire me out to the surface. I'm going to get bent. My lungs are going to come through my nose. I'm going to be found unconscious in my rebreather. And my boyfriend at the time hadn't even noticed that any of this was happening because he's behind me thinking, well, she looks all right. Fake it till you make it. So, yeah, I was terrified. And I can remember holding on to this little nodule of rock there with this, and everything was shaking. My regulator was shaking. Everything behind me was shaking. My breathing rate was going up. And I thought, this is how it happens. This is how it happens. This is how divers die. You've really done it this time, you silly woman. I just sat and I thought, right, just bail out. So I got onto my open circuit gas, which is just slightly cleaner gas. You get rid of the CO2. And I can remember I was just shaking like this when I came out. And I thought, I know, I've been cave diving for 20 years. And like I said, it's what you know.
Yeah.
Those caves are not familiar to me. I wasn't, the next time I dived it, fine. Went to the right place. But you have to know the environment, you have to know the skill that you need for that particular place. And I didn't. I thought, well, I know what I'm doing. I'm a cave diver. Proper
so
terror.
So if you feel the fear, stop. And so we did we absolutely, Mimi just did the right thing for me there. It was amazing. Any more questions?
I think we have time for one more.
Write down, where do you want to do? One here. I can probably hear you. I'll repeat the question.
No, we like Joe running. Run, Joe.
Yeah, so stating the bleeding obvious, that's all really inspirational, and you've spoken to a lot of amazing women that have done lots of amazing things. Did you speak to any ordinary women, like doing ordinary things, and how...
What's ordinary?
For example, so we're climbers, and I'll never climb an E9, and the climbers will know what that means, and we ride bikes, but I'll never ride like across Argentina or something. So, but like how do you make someone... Is it okay to be ordinary?
I think we probably argue that we're ordinary.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? And I think, I don't know. You don't need, your challenge is your challenge, and it's amazing in your life. Do you see what I mean? You've chosen what you want to do, and if you're passionate about it, then that's what it is. And I don't think challenges need to be big. I don't think they need to be... one of the things that's most admirable about Caroline, and this is kind of awkward, but is that she starts Ironman races knowing that she's probably going to be last, right? Don't you?
Yep, absolutely.
There you go. Do you see what I mean? So we don't need to be winning, or we don't need to be climbing the highest mountains, and not everybody in this book does that. I mean, they're just, we've got some amazing examples here. So I just think your challenge is your challenge. Don't listen to that outside noise about this person is fast or this person is this. It's your thing. And if that's what you care about, that's the most important thing. Okay? Oh, thank you. I want to give you a hug, and I bet you do. Well, whatever. I want to give you a hug. I gave you one.
Thank you so much for joining me, and everyone, thank you for coming. There's now going to be a book signing, so Louise is going to have to sprint
Excuse
on
me there,
up.
and please do ask them to sign the book as well, because I went to the event the other day and they were mobbed, so please do. If you want them to sign, I've got special pens and everything. Crayons for them, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done, Immy.